Hello, my lovely friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another Pick a Pile reading for the week. So, this is your opportunity to choose whichever pile you feel drawn to, and then go check out the description box for when the start time is for your reading. So, this is pile one, this is pile two, and this is pile three. So, go check out the reading that is associated with the pile that you chose. And I hope that you enjoy this. As always, please take care, stay safe, and thank you so much for joining me here today. Have a good one. Hello, friends. This is pile number one. So I already have the cards shuffled. And I think I'm just going to kind of stick to tarot cards today. That's just kind of what I'm feeling. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll change it up and maybe I'll add a couple of different cards at the end, but we'll see. So let's see what cards we have in store for you today and what the message is to keep in mind. So we have the Guardian of Cups reversed, the Guardian of Pentacles reversed, Justice, the Star reversed, and finally the Five of Swords reversed. All right. I'm going to put these off to the side. Yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of read these cards first, and then we'll talk about maybe adding some oracle cards to see how it goes. So the very first card, we have the Guardian of Cups reversed. So to me, this is essentially kind of saying that maybe you're feeling a little bit blocked from your emotions. Maybe you're not wanting to feel your emotions. Maybe there is a hesitation to trust yourself a little bit more when it comes to what you're feeling and what's been coming up for you. And I think with the Guardian of Cups, essentially, it's really saying that maybe you haven't been taking the time out to kind of dive within and pay attention to some of your needs and maybe nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself. So you may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit tired, a little bit like disconnected from some of the connections, or even a sense of feeling a little bit more established and comfortable in some of those big feelings or some of the big emotions that have just been showing up for you at this time. Since I feel like any of the Cups cards can really reflect on our intuition, this may also be a time that maybe you feel a little bit disconnected from your intuition. Maybe that's not something that you're relying on as heavily. And so there may be a little bit of this sense of like aimlessness, maybe feeling a little bit bored, maybe feeling like things are not really moving in the direction that you wanted them to move into. And so I feel like whenever I get the Queen of Cups reversed, to me, it's almost saying like, maybe there is like some emotional immaturity, emotional blockages. Maybe there's, some sort of lack of relationship and connection that's just not really coming together the way that it should. And so there is a little bit of this sense of maybe wanting to dive a little bit deeper, maybe wanting to kind of check back in with yourself, look at, how are you taking care of you at this current time? And what is it that maybe is like your immediate need that is going to be the most significant way for you to reconnect to yourself? So if we move on to the Guardian of Pentacles, reversed, again, we're kind of getting the sense of maybe not all is well at home. Maybe you're just not feeling very stable. You're not feeling very established. Maybe there's been a lack of funds, a lack of work, a lack of stability. And so it's maybe making you feel a little bit disrupted, a little bit disconnected. And so there is a little bit of this sense of having to kind of take some time out to reestablish your sense of like foundation, your sense of stability. Maybe it's asking you to kind of not take so much time out to feel like you have to be hyper focusing on work or overcompensating with work. So there may be kind of a push to take some time out and maybe even reflect on like what your body really needs at this time. So the Queen of Pentacles to me is very much about everything really coming together, really focusing on like your physical manifestation of life. And I think with it being reversed is that maybe there is a little bit of a hesitation to connect a little bit more to that energy at this time. Maybe it's because you just feel very tired. You just haven't had a lot of creative time. It is challenging right now to feel very maybe established or stable in the things that you have going on. And so there is a little bit of this, it almost feels like a push and pull of trying to kind of figure out what it is that you want and what it is that you need at the current moment. So with Justice, I think that Justice is always a card of like that divine balance of harmony, of bringing everything kind of back together. And it is very much a card, I feel, as well, of like our truth and really standing up and shining and speaking our truth, not just in our situation, but to ourselves. So I think with this being kind of in the center of everything, it's maybe a reflection of you reconnecting with what your truth is now. And I think for many of us, as we kind of get a little bit older, as we go through life, we feel like the truth that maybe was us, maybe even a few months ago, that has to be all that that it is, that it can't be something that is flexible and transient and constantly shifting and changing as we learn more about who we are, as we experience different things, as we go through life. It is something that I feel is much more malleable than many of us believe. And I think Justice is here in the center of these cards to let you know that maybe you need to be a little bit more flexible with yourself, but still bring things into harmony, still bring things into balance in a way that still honors all that you are and all that you need. So I think with Justice, it's just a reminder of bringing back that sense of putting everything where it needs to be, really focusing on the things that are calling your attention right now, but then really recognizing that it is a reminder to kind of get back into harmony with yourself. So moving on, we have the Star reverse, which to me is really saying maybe you feel like uninspired, maybe you feel like there's a lack of hope, maybe you're even feeling a sense of things aren't really connecting the way that you thought they were going to. So right now it feels like because of everything that's been going on in the world, it's very challenging for many of us to kind of look at what does this mean for me in the future? Or what will my future look like when there's so many variables that I can't control? So I think it's almost like reflecting back on the lessons of the Tower, of feeling unstable, of feeling that breakdown, and not really recognizing that sometimes when we are in that Tower moment, it is exactly what needs to be shaken up and removed or broken down enough so that we can have that breakthrough, so that we can kind of move into the next thing. So right now, I feel like this is almost asking, what do you really truly hope for yourself? What do you believe about yourself and what you have going on? How can you show up at this time for you in a way that re-inspires the sense of your hope, the sense of what you believe and what it is that you want for yourself. So I feel like the Star is just really here as an invitation to kind of say, yes, we're trying to bring things back into balance, but that doesn't always mean that we have to forget what that feels like and looks like for us as individuals. I didn't even check to see if the cards are in frame, so I'm sorry if they haven't been. And finally, we have the Five of Swords reversed. I feel like this is a card that really talks about conflict and like a win or lose sort of energy. But with this being reversed, I feel like maybe it's saying you've been too much in your head. You're overthinking. You're not allowing yourself to really show up in like your personal power. And I feel like this is almost saying like a lot of these thoughts, a lot of these anxieties, a lot of this like process right now is a lot more internalized. I mean, 4 of the cards are reversed. So again, this is kind of showing this like introspective, internalized sort of energy, feeling like things are not really coming together quite the way that you had anticipated. And the Five of Swords, which is a card of typically of like challenges and conflict and roadblocks and feeling like, you know, nothing's really coming together. With it being reversed, I think it's almost saying like you get to choose which way you want to go moving forward. You don't have as many things in the way as you may believe that you do. A lot of the conflict that you're experiencing at the current moment is more about what's going on within yourself versus like the external situation that is happening. So I feel like it's almost saying like nothing is really blocking you right now. The only thing that is kind of keeping you from being able to show up at this moment is your own kind of internalized lack of sense of faith, of hope in what you can do, of maybe feeling like you have to pick and choose which way you need to go while also not really knowing what it is that you truly desire because you haven't taken the time out to really connect with yourself. So it may feel like some of these choices that are coming up are a little bit challenging. So here we have, I'm going to say, I feel like this one needs to be upright. And then just for clarification, I got the Ace of Swords, which is all about getting clear on what you believe. It is a card of opportunities and doors opening and new beginnings, but it's not saying you're going to walk through it. This is just the opportunity presenting itself to you. And this is more of like that clarity within your mind, that clarity within yourself, the beginning of really getting clear on who you are, what you want, and what you need is really going to say that that is when those opportunities will show up, is when you start saying, okay, this is what I really want. This is what I really need. This is what I'm willing to kind of show up in. And this is how I want to show up in the world. And as those opportunities present themselves, it's really up to us to say, okay, this makes sense. This is what I want. All right. Now, I'm going to say, I think I pulled the moon first. So next we have the moon. Actually, as I'm recording this, today is the new moon, but I will probably post this for tomorrow. So to me, this is almost saying this moon, whenever I think of the moon, I think it's very much this energy of really recognizing that we have to nurture ourselves. We have to honor our phases. We have to be okay with confronting the things that maybe we're not always seeing quite so clearly, and really reflecting on what that means for us overall, what that means for us as individuals, what it means for our current kind of frame of mind in some ways. And I think that this is almost saying like this is kind of the energy that is trying to poke through and open up these new opportunities, is working on confronting those shadows within ourselves, or the things that maybe we haven't really been paying attention to or really focusing on. And finally, we have the Chariot, which is actually the card of this season of Cancer. And so the new moon in Cancer, basically. So I think that this new moon may be a fantastic time for you to redirect your energy, to really refocus on your intentions, your phases, your desires, and also recognizing that the Chariot talks about momentum and aligning yourself with certain things and kind of getting your energy back in check. But I think the other thing with the Chariot is that it's saying you got to be ready to go. You have to be ready to kind of get where you need to go and not just continuously hang back out of a sense of not really knowing if that's how you feel. So I hope that that made sense. I feel like overall right now, it may feel like there's just a lot of things on your plate that are kind of requiring some of your attention and focus. But I think these cards are kind of trying to push you to really start focusing on what you want and what you need. So thank you so much for joining me, Pile 1. As always, please take care, stay safe, and make good choices. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. Thank you so much for being here today with me. I really hope that this reading brings you some clarity, that it allows you to really refocus your energy for what you need to hear and also what is needed to be done. So I'm just going to be using tarot cards today. I just feel like that's kind of where I'm at. I've already shuffled everything, so we'll see what cards we have for you. So pile number 2. We have the Knight of Cups reversed, the Two of Wands, the Page of Swords, lots of court cards today, the Five of Coins reversed, and the Nine of Coins. Now, for the other reading, I did pull some extra cards as I was talking about stuff, so I may choose to pull some extra cards, and hopefully everything is straight and looks okay for you guys. So the very first card we have is the Knight of Cups reverse. And I know that Cancer season tends to be very heavy for a lot of people. They just don't really like having anything that is like causing them to feel their feelings. So I think a lot of this reverse kind of cups energy is because we're not really addressing some of the things within ourselves. Now, the knights to me always represent really recognizing and understanding what it is that we're willing to fight for, what it is that we're willing to kind of go out into the world, what message have we been receiving. So the cups are very much a card of intuition and feelings and emotions and connections. And so this to me is almost saying maybe there's been a lack of connection and intuition in some ways. And so it's making it challenging for you to recognize how to go out into the world and how to show up in different ways. Now, I think with the Knight of Cups, the other thing with this is that we have to really understand that it's okay for us to feel what we have going on. Not all of our feelings are always going to feel comfortable or good, but it doesn't mean that we should just not pay attention to why they're coming up or honoring how we truly feel about certain things. And I think the biggest thing with the Knight of Cups is that it is kind of this invitation to kind of say, what is the message here? Like, what am I missing? Why am I not paying attention to this message? What is it about these feelings that maybe feel very uncomfortable for me at this current time? Now, the Two of Wands to me is very much a card of like strategy and planning and kind of preparing to kind of go out into the world. So I feel like it's almost saying like, you know, it's time for us to spread our wings. It's time for us to start exploring other options, exploring other things. And so there may be an opportunity that maybe we're wanting to take advantage of and say, okay, this is going to like bring in new life or bring in new vitality for me. So maybe it is kind of that sense of, okay, I need to kind of get out into the world. I need to stop holding back, or it's time for me to really explore what I have going on with this idea or this portion of myself, or really show up in new ways. And so I think the Two of Wands is essentially kind of that invitation again of like, okay, how can I step fully into this energy? What is it about, you know, what's been going on that maybe I've internalized that maybe is kind of saying, okay, I need to strategize. I need to plan for what it is that I want in the future. Now, the Page of Swords is all about getting out there, getting clear on what you're trying to do, and really taking a risk in the sense of challenging what you've been thinking about and how you process things. So I think the Page of Swords is almost this, I want to say, like us really stepping out of certain things and really being very mindful of what we're communicating, how we're communicating. I feel like swords are so much about like communication and connection and our words and how we connect with others, as well as our truth and our empowerment. So I feel like the page is still a little bit of like this naive energy where maybe we feel like I want to get out there and I want to communicate and I want to connect and I want to do that, but maybe I feel like I'm lacking experience, or I don't always know how this is going to go or what it truly means overall for everybody else. So I feel like the Page of Swords is almost an invitation to say, hey, you may not always know what's going to happen here or how it will come out. Maybe you're being pushed to kind of do different things. Maybe you feel a little bit challenged by some of the opportunities that are kind of presenting themselves to you. And as much as you may plan and strategize, you may just have to kind of have that like on the job training, that like experience of just like living through something in order for you to know how to deal with it or how to process it in the future. Now, next to that, we have the Five of Coins reverse, which this is a card that to me really talks about feeling alone. There is this sense of feeling disconnected and like things are not really coming together the way that you thought they were going to. But with this being reversed, I feel like, again, maybe some of this loneliness or this sense of lack is more of an internalized thing, not so much like financially being a little bit distorted as to what has been going on around you. I feel like the Five of Coins is almost saying like you're not taking advantage of the resources around you because you're so caught up in what you think is happening within yourself that it's disconnecting you from the possibilities of really having those opportunities present themselves. So I feel like maybe with the Page of Swords before it, it's almost saying like maybe there's this part of you that feels like, oh, I have to kind of do this on my own. I don't really know how it's going to look like. I'm not going to have as many supports as I thought I was going to. And the Five of Coins reverse is kind of saying, no, you are actually a lot more supported than you know. You just have to kind of reach out and not just purposely sit outside of yourself by yourself. So next to that, we have the Nine of Coins, which to me is very much a card of like your hard work and dedication coming to fruition. This is very much a card of saying this is like your well-deserved reward. This is all of your, dedication to do what is needed. Your planning is finally coming through. This is your action and you actually being rewarded for your efforts and your dedication and your hard work. So I feel like this is very much a card of like taking in the harvest and really recognizing that your efforts and your potential is coming to fruition at this point in time. Now, the other thing that I wanted to kind of mention, because I just thought about it, is when I think of the Nine of Pentacles or the Nine of Coins, this is very much a card of like pregnancy to me. It is like that sense of something that it takes time, it's like 9 months. It takes a long time for us to have, a pregnancy go all the way through, for us to have birth. And so I feel like it's kind of that sort of energy, like where you may feel like you've been toiling very hard at this. It's been hard on your body. It's been hard on your mind, but you're excited about the potential of what is to come. And so you still have to kind of go a little bit through that labor process in order for you to have that new life. And that is very much the energy of the Nine of Coins. It's almost saying, hey, you have done what is needed, but you need to still be aware that it's going to be like that big push before you actually see that new life kind of take place and come into your life. So I feel like this one, yeah. So now we have the King of Wands here. So I feel like with the King of Wands, this is very much a like, get out there, mover and shaker, like start doing your thing, really claim your domain, so to speak, and really figure out what you want, what you need, what you've been doing, what like lights you on fire, what sets you, what allows you to feel very connected to who you are and what you want. So I feel like the King of Wands is kind of saying like, all right, we got to get out there. We got to do what we need to do. It's time for us to really take that power back and say, this is what sets me up. This is what makes me feel passionate. This is what makes me feel driven. This is what makes me feel connected and very secure in the things that I've been kind of creating for myself without feeling a little bit afraid as to what the outcome will be long term. And next to that, we have, no, not reverse. So now we have the Wheel of Fortune, which I feel like this is just a reminder that you need to kind of get in flow. So if things have not really been going quite as smoothly as you thought, or not been shifting the way that you thought they were going to, the Wheel of Fortune is here to tell you like things are changing. Things are going to shift. You just need to be prepared for that. You need to just go with it as it goes. This is like your luck is finally shifting, even if it hasn't felt that way for some time, but it may require you to kind of step fully into ownership of who you are and what you're trying to do. And finally, we will have, that's funny, I pulled the Chariot for the other set of cards too. The Chariot is actually the card for Cancer season, or for Cancer. And so here we have the Chariot kind of saying, all right, you have to align yourself with your energies. You need to really figure out what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're trying to do. And it's really understanding that you have to be ready to kind of hit the ground running. Stop holding back. Stop feeling like something is missing, or you have to wait for permission to kind of show up in this energy. So I think that overall, these cards are kind of saying, right now, you may feel like you're in the planning stages, and so your goals may feel very far off, or like it's going to take you a very long time in order for you to reach what it is that you want. And you may not always see all of the opportunities that will present themselves along the path, but you have to kind of start getting out there and communicating your truth. And as you do, take ownership of your power and your drive and your creativity, so that things, when they start shifting, you can flow with them. And you can also understand that by aligning yourself with the energies that are present, you are ready to kind of hit the ground running, and you're not going to feel kind of taken aback by other people's energies. So I hope that made sense. As always, if you have questions, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care, stay safe, and make good choices. Bye. Hello, pile number 3. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So I think today we're just going to focus on tarot cards. That's kind of what I've been doing with the other piles. So I've already shuffled everything, but let's see what we have in store for you. And I forget how beautiful that iridescence is on this deck. I love it. All right, let's see what we have for pile number 3. I have the 7 of Pentacles, the 6 of Pentacles, I promise I'm going to different areas of the deck. So the Magician, the Four of Swords reversed, and Death reversed. So I may pull some extra cards like I did for the other piles. So we'll see what happens. So first off, we have the Seven of Pentacles, which is definitely a card of like you've put in the hard work and you've just been waiting. You've been waiting for you to be able to take advantage of the harvest that is coming. And so right now it may feel like the waiting game. It may just feel a little bit like things aren't really happening. Things may not be coming into place or falling into place the way that you thought they were going to or quite as quickly. So right now it just feels very much like you're just kind of awaiting the next thing, trying to see what happens, trying to see how things are going to come together, and also what it is that you need overall in order for you to really focus on the future. The other thing with the Seven of Pentacles is that I feel like one of the things that we tend to forget is that while we are waiting, it is okay for us to also rest. And I think that the sevens in tarot have a very highly spiritual kind of connotation and energy to them, is that especially now with how society is and how life is, so many of us are used to like going and going and going and going and just pushing through and pushing through and pushing through, that we kind of tend to neglect a little bit of these like rest periods. It's like nothing in nature blooms all year long, and yet we kind of expect ourselves to kind of always be producing, always be doing, always be showing up in this sort of energy. And so it makes it a little bit challenging for those of us that like want to hang back a little bit, or that say, okay, I've done everything I needed to. Now I just have to kind of give things space to bloom and to grow and to do whatever they need to do. And so the Seven of Pentacles is kind of here to tell you you've done everything that you needed to do. So this is an opportunity for you to kind of take a step back and maybe just let it do what it needs to do. Next to that, we have the Six of Pentacles, which is a card of giving and receiving and finding balance and really understanding that we can't do all things all of the time and we can't be all things to all people. I think with the Six of Pentacles is that it's almost saying like you have to find the balance. You have to, it's like push and pull, giving and receiving. And so many of us can be very good at one or the other in certain areas of our lives. So we may be very giving, but then it's challenging for us to receive. We may be someone that like is always there to help everybody, but we struggle to ask for help whenever we need it. We may feel like, oh, I'm always doing everything for everybody else, but it's okay if nobody really does anything for me. And that is not how community is built. So I think the Six of Pentacles is essentially a really good reminder that you need to be more mindful of taking things into balance. And especially since we have the Seven of Pentacles next to that, where someone's saying like, you've done everything. And your lesson before the seven is the six. It's saying, okay, so you have to find that divine balance. You need to take some time out to kind of bring everything back in so that as you're waiting for these results, you're not feeling like I need to be doing more. I need to do something else. I need to try harder. I need to whatever little story we tend to tell ourselves. So next to that, we have the Magician. The Magician is all about spiritual awareness. It's about manifesting. It's about really recognizing that we have all of the tools at our disposal to create any of the magic that we're looking for. The other beautiful lesson that the Magician tends to bring to us is that it's a reminder that a good magician knows exactly what he's trying to accomplish or what they are trying to accomplish before they actually do the magic trick. So I think for many of us, having that understanding that in order for us to feel like we're tuning into this energy, like we are being a good magician, so to speak, we have to recognize what it is that we're trying to do. If I'm over here trying to manifest a particular situation in my life, but I'm not making space, I'm not making time, and I'm like, oh, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? If I don't have the right tools, if I haven't done the preparation, if I haven't gotten ready, then it makes it very challenging for that thing to kind of just show up. And the thing with manifesting, or even just the recognition that this card is really a very highly spiritual card, but it also really talks about that connection of that spiritual awareness. And I think that's what we tend to forget, is that it's really saying, like, what are you spiritually aware of at this point in time, especially with this being kind of in the middle of the cards, where it's kind of telling you, like, hey, this is your opportunity to become aware of how everything is interconnected. And you have a lot of possibilities here to tune back into the magic of who you are. Now, next to that, we do have the Four of Swords reversed. And so I think that this is almost saying, like, you have not been just breathing. You have not been taking time out to heal, to connect to yourself, to kind of reestablish who you are. Now, to me, whenever I get like this reversed card, I feel like it's almost like moving back into the previous card's energy. So to me, it's almost saying, hey, you're too caught up in sadness and isolation and heartache and loss that you're not really paying attention to what your body needs right now. And a good magician uses all of the tools at their disposal. They are not just one thing or the other. And so I feel like this is a reminder for you to kind of say, okay, what is happening here? What is it that I need? Why am I neglecting certain things? Whether it's because I've been so busy doing all of these other physical things in my life that I'm not taking the ample time to heal myself. Maybe I haven't really gotten over the mental anxiety of the losses I've experienced, or it's hard for me to open myself up because I have been so sad and I have been isolated. Now, next to that, we have Death reverse. Which again, this is kind of saying, hey, you're not letting go of something. You're not allowing the transformation. You're not opening yourself up to the possibilities that it's time to let go of certain things, especially if you've been putting so much hard work and dedication into it and you've been waiting for the harvest. Sometimes the harvest doesn't really give us as many fruits for our labor. And it doesn't mean that we don't deserve it, or it doesn't mean that we didn't put in the efforts or things like that. Like it just kind of reminds me of when I would try to grow my own vegetables, and I would get so frustrated because I would get like, one or two viable pieces of anything out of all of the different vegetables I would try to grow. But once I stopped trying to control that and just decided, you know what, I'm just going to focus on like easy house plants. I have like a little jungle in my home, and I have moved a lot of these plants from state to state to state, completely different climates. And it's like, I just try not to control. It's like, I'm giving you what you need, and that's what it is. And I feel like with death, a lot of us don't like the energy of death because we may feel like that means it's an ending. It's that cycle that we no longer get to have. But I think the biggest thing here is that it's almost saying like you have just not been allowing something to be able to grow in its place because you haven't let go. So I think overall with these cards, they're almost saying, yeah, you've put in a lot of effort in certain things and you've been trying to do certain like maybe lessons or a lot of growth in certain areas, but there are certain things that when we grow, we've outgrown them. And so we have to kind of be ready to shift into the next thing without hanging back so much. So next to that, we have the Six of Swords. I feel like I'm constantly pulling this card right now. And this is all about transitions and shifting and healing and allowing that healing to truly begin, to kind of get away from the things that have not been beneficial for us. So this death that maybe we've been kind of hanging on to, or this lack of transformation, or this lack of being able to kind of move into the next phase, is saying when you do, you can kind of get away from everything that's held you back or everything that has felt very blocked for you. So we have to kind of move into this kind of transition energy. And as we do, we will find the victory of our success, of our dedication. This is very much a card of like victory and success. It is saying other people will recognize everything that you've been doing because of your hard work and dedication. So you need to do some of the healing so that other people can see that you are very much successful. And I think a lot of us, we try to measure success by certain markers or certain like elements and aspects. And so I feel like many of us may think, oh, something failed, and so that means I wasn't successful, when I don't think it's anything like that at all. Sometimes the success is in recognizing when something is no longer viable and learning to let it go, learning to say, my peace and my healing is much more important than me looking a particular way on paper for everybody else. And that can be your true victory and success. And then finally, we have the wheel, which it's funny, all of these readings have had kind of one of these major cards kind of overlapping on every single one of them. So right now it feels like things are finally shifting and changing. The wheel is your opportunity to learn how to flow with the things that life is trying to present you with. Again, life is constantly filled with cycles, birth, death, and rebirth, much like the death card. So as much as you're like, oh, I don't want to transform, or I don't want to let this go, or it's challenging for me to, or it's scary for me to let this thing go, the wheel is saying it does not matter. It's time for the shift. It's time for the change. Stop hanging on to things that are not viable for you any longer, and be mindful of what you're spending your energy on and what you've been focusing on. So I hope that made sense. Let me know if you have any questions down below, or if there's anything that you would like some guidance on regarding this reading. As always, I want to say thank you for joining me. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.